Pete, welcome back to Two Sides of the Table. Thank you so much for joining me again.
Oh, it's wonderful as always to be on the other side of the table. And it's been a few weeks since we've been in the studio, Kayla. So what have you been up to?
Yeah, it's been a busy couple of weeks. I was down in Sydney helping some customers with a conference that they were at. We are off to Auckland next week. So that's been amazing, and you can probably hear in my voice I've been a little bit unwell, so I did take some time off last week as well, just recovering from that. So it's been a busy couple of weeks. How about you?
Oh, look, I've managed to avoid that lurgy that's going around Brisbane at the moment. I think it's my healthy, clean living and plenty of red wine that helps keep that away. But yeah, look, I think it is definitely award season at the moment. So we're super excited that Digital Team was named the 15th fastest growing business in Australia in the AFR Fast Starter Award. I was down in Sydney earlier this week for that. But actually, after recording this afternoon, we're heading off to Sydney because we're also in the Deloitte Fast 50, which is recognition of the fastest technology growing businesses as well. So definitely lots of exciting things going on at the moment, that's for sure.
Congratulations. You must be very happy with that result.
Yeah, look, really excited. And really it's a testament to our amazing customers, but also to the amazing team that delivers great outcomes every single day. And that ethos that we've always had, if we look after our team, they'll look after our customers.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Well, today we have yet another guest joining us in the studio, which is really exciting. So we've got Brendan Gibson, CEO of Anspired, a strategic force in the IT and outsource support that emerged from a 2021 merger of Brisbane's Answers IT and New South Wales Central Coast Inspired Techs. So Brendan brings more than 20 years' experience helping businesses navigate risk, productivity and change. And his team at Anspired help mid-size enterprises with IT threats and using a protected services model, which gives them confidence to move forward fast in the ever-changing landscape. And outside of business, Brendan is committed to mental health awareness. He's got a bit of a story to share with us today. And his fundraising efforts are based on his personal experience, which he's going to share as well. Brendan, welcome to Two Sides of the Table.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Privileged.
So talk to us about where everything began for you. So you obviously had a business, you merged that business with another business in 2021. And so how did you end up with Anspired and leading Anspired? Talk to us about your career so far.
Yeah, 100%. Started in 2007, Answers IT, and I'd just been made redundant from a IT manager role. Just wasn't the right fit. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I've got just bought a house, baby just been born. What am I going to do? And that's where I started my business. An accounting firm gave me 4 days a week work, 1 day to build my business, and they supported me to get started. Still a client today, and they're a really awesome. They're just an awesome client, but it's a testament to go what a great team and a relationship that we've had all that time. Fast forwarding a bit, we won some awards, nothing like Pete's awesomeness, but we won some innovation awards in 2009, 2010. And I got to a point in my business where I'd lost a big client, and I'm going to get a bit vulnerable here, guys. I hope that's okay. I lost a big client, and I was like, stuff this. I think I'm just going to go work for someone. The accountant had said, look, it's not good. You're not doing well. And to be vulnerable, I didn't understand my numbers properly. Mm-hmm. And a competitor of mine actually said, hey, why don't you should read this book, which I found out later, and I constantly tease him about this, is that he has never read the book, but he recommended it. And it was called Profit First, and it really helped me transform my business. So as soon as I implemented what those practices were, the business transformed. And yeah, it was just transformational. It was exciting. And then I wanted to help other businesses with that. And I had a friend of mine on the Central Coast that we constantly talked, and yeah, we were good mates. And I asked him, I said, oh, have you heard of this? He goes, yeah, I've read it, but he hadn't implemented it. So I remember us sitting in a hotel room and literally kind of designing what it practically meant for him. And he started implementing it. And then we kept each other accountable. Like, what's your bank balances? What's your biggest challenge? What's your biggest win? So that was Leon and I, and we were keeping each other accountable and seeing how the businesses were changing. It was really exciting. So that was 2019. And then after doing this for 18 months, he said, we should merge. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm just happy going along. And eventually I said, yeah, okay, let's do this. So we merged on the 1st of February 2021.
Wow.
And that's why Inspired Techs, Answers IT, that's where the name Inspired comes from.
Oh, I love that.
Well, yeah, what an amazing story. And I think it's interesting because we've had a number of founders on the podcast series, and it's interesting that often there's a catalyst in someone's life, and it's either they've been made redundant or the organisation's gone into administration, and there's a little bit of a what do I do next moment. And, you know, I'm good at computers, I'm good at IT, so let's go and start an IT business. And, you know, your story, you know, 18 years later and an incredibly successful business that you've built. But I think one of the interesting things listening to your story there is that vulnerability, because I think every business owner at some stage or another struggles with the numbers. Like actually really understanding what are the key drivers in my business, what are the levers that I pull, and what the heck is this net profits EBITDA thing, because that's not what's in my bank balance.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think, you know, if there's a key takeaway that I think, you know, everyone can take from your story, Brendan, is don't be afraid to ask for help. You know, there's plenty of people out there, whether they're peer groups, fellow colleagues, professionals like your accountants, you know, just like people don't understand IT and you're able to help them if you're an IT business owner, the same way that there's people out there that'll help you if you don't necessarily understand the numbers.
Do you think getting the advice from your colleague was a pivotal moment for you in sort of understanding the numbers, or do you think it was reading Profit First?
I think it was. That's a really good question, Kayla. I felt like I was at rock bottom, and I'd been working so hard, and so I was like, it's almost like that self-defeat going, nah, stuff it, I'm going to go do something else. But then having a vehicle, like the book, for example, it spoke right to me, because the book talked about the challenges he had, and Mike, the author, and he's having, and I'm like, yeah, this is exactly me. So I think getting help from people around you, like Pete just touched on, I think that's crucial. You're not the smartest person in the room.
No.
You know, you got to put your ego out and go, right, this is where I need help, or this is where I want to improve. And is the business serving you? Clearly it wasn't for me at that point. Or is it a money-making machine, or is it a cash-eating monster?
Yeah, that's it, yeah. Or are you serving the business? That's the question.
Yeah, and if we look at the industry data, I think, you know, the industry data doesn't lie, and the fact that the average EBITDA for a managed service business today in Australia is 6%, and I think the scary statistic of that is that 25% of IT businesses today are actually underwater. They're actually losing money, and so it sounds like from what you're saying is maybe pick up a copy of Profit First and have a bit of a read of that is maybe a first start there. And I actually think you can roll up Profit First in the toothpaste analogy, which is in that first chapter about, well, you know, when things are scarce, it's amazing how far you can then go and stretch them. Just like a tube of toothpaste, when you first get it, you squeeze it and you get lots of toothpaste out on the toothbrush. But it's amazing when you get down to that last bit, you roll it up and squeeze it and push harder, and you can still get a little bit more out of that. But the key to that book is making sure that you're paying yourself first and rewarding yourself, because I think a lot of people get over time jaded about their businesses, and that's just because they're not getting rewarded fairly for that. So, you know, making sure that you are, you know, paying yourself a wage, that it's a fair market wage, but also carving off that profit, because that's really what makes business interesting and why people are in business and not just having a job.
And it could only be, like Pete, it could be putting 1%. If you do nothing else at the moment, people listening that are struggling right now, 1%, put it into a bank account, call it profit. Every single bit of money that comes in, just put 1% in there. And then read the book. It'll tell you what to do next.
Yeah.
But I think for me as well, just to answer that, Kayla, when I got to that point, when I read that, it enabled me to make tough calls.
Yeah.
And if you guys think about even your businesses, it's when you come to those hard points, your family's on the line, or there's something that's really it can cost you. You make tough calls.
Yeah.
So one of the things I had to do, and I encourage, because I coach IT companies as well in terms of implementing profit first. Not so much lately. I've been pretty busy, but one of the things, increase your prices. You can increase your prices by percentage, and you probably haven't done it in years. It's okay to do that. I had to get rid of clients that weren't profitable, or have a conversation with them, because I'm spending so many hours. My team was spending so many hours on clients that weren't the right fit.
Yeah.
But in some of that, it was, the clients were a true partnership, and they're like, okay, what do we need to change? And they're still clients today, and that's really good. I had to get rid of some stuff. I had to change things, but it enabled me to make those decisions.
Yeah, I had a great piece of advice early in business from a mentor, and he said, reasonable people make reasonable decisions and will have reasonable conversations. And I think I've always thought about that. If someone's been unreasonable in a conversation or during a negotiation, or we have to have that conversation around, you're actually not a profitable customer for us at the moment. If you want us to be around in 6 months, we have to increase our prices. If they're being unreasonable about that, I think the question is, do you actually want to be in business with that person? Because I think I've had my fair share of unreasonable clients, and they've all gone because I didn't want to be in business with that person. And when you're a cash-strapped business, it's really tough to make that call, but it actually ends up being better in the long term.
Yeah, look, I think, one of the upcoming series I think we'll do is around how we think about pricing and how to activate some of those strategies. And it really hit home for me. I was at the SMB IT Christmas party in Brisbane last week and talking to a few people. And, after everyone's had a few bourbons, the bit of social lubricant kicked in, and the conversation turned to pricing. And it was really interesting to see the various per hour pricing that people were charging. And like everything from $120 an hour all the way up to $200 an hour, and everything in between there. And I think, there's definitely some data that we can add in that to sort of help around, where that pricing can be and how to ratchet that up, because I think that's a common challenge about, well, I don't want to increase the price because I don't want to lose the customer. But if any of you guys have got a Netflix subscription or anything like that, there's no, please can I increase the price? Here's just a letter, like it or not. And it feels to me I'm getting a letter every 6 months about that at the moment. That's for sure.
That's it. All right, let's move on. Your business uses a protected services model, or you offer a protected services model for mid to enterprise businesses. So cyber risk is really front and center these days. I just think at the moment we're hearing so much about it in the market. It's just everywhere I turn, there's something about cyber risk, or there's some sort of insurance thing coming out about how we need to be protected against certain things. What's been the biggest areas that you've seen servicing your customers in your business over the last 3 to 5 years?
The biggest area?
Yeah, biggest cyber risk area.
Yeah. I'm going to answer that a couple of ways. People don't know what they don't know. And so let's say, business has got an IT provider and they've been looking after them for 5 years, 10 years. How do you know that you're actually getting what you're paying for? How do you know you're protected? What is the essential 8? Is that important to me? Where does that come into effect? And so we did a recent bit of a strategy. Don't you give that to me, Kayla? Yeah. We did a bit of a strategy, a marketing review of how we do things. And one of the things that we've tried to do is compliance as a service. So we have 150 point check of is your backups right? Have you got good protection? Are you testing for phishing? Make sure your staff are not clicking and filling out forms they shouldn't be. Are they being web trained? Is it blocking malicious items from running on people's computers? If a threat does get detected, what are you going to do? Is it going to lock the machine off so it doesn't then, infect the rest of the network? So what I'm seeing is we have done that with our clients, that 150-point check, give or take. And we meet with our clients quarterly and we go through, okay, this is your alignment score. This is where we see there's some gaps. This one, urgent. You should do this straight away. This one, blah, blah, blah. And most of the clients that we've worked with on that, their Microsoft security score, if we were just to pick on that, they've gone from like a prospect we took on, they were, I think they were 42% in their security score. And now they're over 85.
Yeah, wow.
Awesome.
Now, going too high, it becomes crippling to have a high security score. The scary thing, when you look at the Microsoft data, the average Microsoft security score for a business of that size was 37% globally.
Okay.
That's the scarier thing.
Yeah, wow.
So for me, it's like that lack of awareness. You got so many different tools being sold and
Yep.
but is that actually working? Is your IT provider actually testing what they say they're going to do? And we haven't always had that right. So that's why it's such a focus. Our messaging is we're a protected services provider. It's a play on words.
Yeah.
It's a play on words, but it's to say, like, we're going to keep you protected. We want to keep you aligned to best practices. And yeah, does that kind of...
Yeah.
And I think that's an amazing sort of how you've actually been able to wrap up that messaging, because at the end of the day, all businesses want to be protected, whether that's physically protected from a security perspective. We want to make sure that there's the right locks and bars and alarms protected physically. Mm-hmm. But we often don't think about that cyber protection, about what to do there. And I think it really came home to me a couple of weeks ago with my dad. And I think a lot of customers are just trusting. Why would somebody impersonate or pretend to be somebody else? And, big hats off to Woolworths. So my dad did get scammed, and as part of that scam, he was told to go and buy $25,000 of iTunes vouchers. Yeah. And so, he thought that that's what he needed to do to get his computer fixed, is that there was a problem with it. And, he's a little bit older in life, so probably doesn't, quite get it all, but went down to Woolies and tried to go and buy $25,000 of iTunes vouchers. And, the person behind that was really diligent and said, look, sir, I think you might have been scammed. Maybe you should go and contact your family. And I thought, hats off to them for doing that. Yeah. But then when I spoke to my dad afterwards, it was like, well, why would someone want to do that to me? Like, I trust everybody. They told me they were from Microsoft and they were trying to help me. There was a problem with my computer. And I think if you think about, a lot of businesses out there, they're not aware of what those risks are until a problem then really starts to happen. And look, I'm just as guilty as maybe I should have put some more investment into my dad's security on his machine and things like that. But, I think a lot of businesses are in that same boat, and that protection, I think, is really highly valuable.
Oh, it's so funny that, it's not funny at all, but it's. I love that you answered it with that awareness piece, Brendan, because I think a lot of people jump straight to the tool or straight to the security score, or this is what you need to fix and this is what you need to implement. And, we're seeing this threat and this threat and this threat. Well, actually, the biggest threat is the people, isn't it, in the business, and they're not having awareness around, what they need to be doing and what a potential threat could look like. That people are the biggest weakness in our security posture.
Yeah, absolutely. And another example we had is we had one of our clients and we deployed some software on there, and we found out that there was an email forwarding rule, forwarding anything with accounts and all that sort of stuff to somewhere else. Microsoft didn't pick it up. The tool did. It automatically locked it down, reset it, and we go, this is why you need to, our advice is there for a reason.
Yeah.
And they said, why didn't you put it in sooner? We recommended it already back here and you didn't do it.
Classic.
But I think the thing I would challenge any service-based business is be vulnerable with your client. Like we've actually said, when I sit down with a client, I go, look, we didn't handle this very well here. Like, this is missing. Team have already fixed it. We found this in our 150-point check. We found you didn't have this set up. It's already being handled. There's no extra cost, but we could have done better here. And 9 times out of 10, the clients are happy because they go, you know what? You're checking your own work. We trust that you do have our best interests at heart.
Yeah. I agree with that. We're the same, right? Like if we miss something or there's a spelling error or something like that, we're always the first to say, like, that was us. Like there's no other excuse for that. And most clients are super responsive to that.
And if you do have a mum or dad, anyone who's listening, that have MyGov set up with a Big Pond account that doesn't have two-factor authentication or something that doesn't have two-factor, and then your password gets hacked, and then they do the MyGov then gets their tax, it's a mess. Please change. Get some two-factor on there. Make sure it's set up properly. I'm hearing about that so often. I even had a call this week saying that their whole account, their tax return had been submitted because the MyGov account got hacked because the email account didn't have two-factor on it.
Right.
And their password got compromised on the dark web.
Yeah.
And I think, your approach of just having the conversation is so important because it's understanding where the customer is actually at in their journey and actually then focusing on that continual improvement is because, look, at the end of the day, we're all humans. No one's perfect at everything, but it's how do you then start to get, 1% better every single day and, working with your customers because you don't go from a secure score of, in the 40s to 80 overnight. That is a process that needs to go through over time and it's helping with that. And I think, I love that education piece and just having that regular dialogue with customers because I think as IT businesses, it's all too easy for us just to sit behind email, sit in our offices rather than actually then going out and having those conversations.
And I'm just so blessed with the team I have because they do all that. It's all prepared for me. I go out there and I can have the conversations with confidence that we've done that as well. So same as you, Pete. You can't do it without a good team. Kayla, you can't do. We can't be everything to everybody.
No, I agree. How are you going with AI and automation? Like, what are you doing? How are you implementing it into your business?
That's a big question. So I don't want to give all my secrets away.
Of course not.
What I'm seeing out there when we're talking to clients is they go, we want AI, but they don't know what that means. And so it's about educating that education piece. And we actually bring that up in our account management meetings. We go, this is what AI is. Do you know about this? And what we're seeing is most people actually want automation. They want to take their end of month financial process that they're getting someone to manually do a VLOOKUPs on an Excel spreadsheet instead of having that data at their fingertips. We can do that with an automation and improve that. That's real efficiency gain. That's real money saving and not wasting time, not wasting money on resources where they could be spending time on high value activities. You asked me how we're using it in our business. So that's obviously, we talk to our clients about that. I'm getting a lot of inquiries about going into people's businesses and finding out how to put AI in there and how to do consultancy around that. And I know a lot of people are doing that as well. But it seems to be increasing, Kayla and Pete. It seems to be more and more. And there's only one of me. I can't go everywhere. But it's definitely more and more inquiries about that.
Yeah, and Brendan, how are you leaning into that opportunity? Because I think, that's the big sort of question that I think many MSPs are asking themselves is I've got really good M365 admin skills. I've got great networking skills. I can manage a VM any day of the week, but automating a month-end process or introducing RPA, things like that, is a really different skill set. So how are you thinking about that and how are you leaning into that with your business?
Yeah, well, I'm struggling with that, Pete, because it's not something I can charge as a service fee, like a monthly reoccurring thing. It's usually let's do a discovery session. Let's figure out where the gaps are. Let's use my years of running a business to go, what is your strategy? How does your tech strategy align with that? So we do a little bit of that in our quarterly checking strategic meetings, but for other businesses that want that higher level, it is a challenge. One of the things though on the AI piece, Kayla, is we have implemented a auto triage. So it will triage all our tickets based on priority. And the team have done a great job.
Yep.
We partner with people to do that.
Yeah. Are you using threads to do that? Is that the technology that you're using?
No, not exactly. But we have gone from like a success rate, I think, of, don't quote me, and I'll probably be corrected. And I've got a great team who can answer probably more of these questions. But we've gone from like I think it was 55% success rate of triage, and I think we're like over. Don't hit me, Anthony, later when I say the wrong number. I think it's over
Significantly larger.
I think it's like 90%, and it's actually being relied on to the point where I'm actually annoyed with it, because I tried to, like, I had something and it kept bugging me, and I'm like, I want to close this, and it wouldn't let me close it because this thing kept saying, you haven't dealt with it.
And I think it's really interesting, because I think this is the conundrum that I think most IT businesses are in at the moment, is they know that they need to lean in to AI to solve their customers' challenge, but it's a very different muscle. They can see the opportunity, they can hear the opportunity, but then how do they build the opportunity from a skill set, a go-to-market perspective, a proposition, a pricing perspective? Because, moving from what's traditionally a recurring-based revenue stream into a project-based revenue stream, building different skill sets is hard. And what I'm hearing is, you're happy enough to actually say you don't have the answers. And I think no one's got all the answers. But what I'm hearing aligns very similar to what I'm hearing from you, Brendan, and that's that a lot of the focus is on internal efficiency. So how do you get better at the things that you're already doing? So things like ticket triage, making sure that you've got automation for some of the common things, whether it's onboarding or offboarding, password resets, driving that internal efficiency to then make sure that you're the best at what you can do to be able to free up resources to focus on those new opportunities.
Yeah, onboarding a new user. They can go there, fill it all out, and in the background it's doing its magic.
Yeah.
And not having to talk to someone and stuff around. Clients can be relied on. Yeah, 100%. And I'm really passionate about finding those efficiencies, because I've seen that in my own experience of it costs businesses lots of money to be inefficient.
Yeah.
And when you see someone spending a week on an end of month process, it's got to be a better way. And that's where I think automation and AI agents, we are using AI agents, they can make a big difference.
Yeah, amazing. That's really good. I think you're right. I think a lot of people don't have the answers yet, and we haven't figured out quite how to, I suppose, almost commoditize it or commercialize it. So it's I don't think you're alone in that struggle. But let us know when you work it out.
Yeah, I will. Absolutely.
So obviously we've seen a lot of MSPs go from, that break fix model through to a managed service model, through to, cybersecurity being a big focus. What do you think is the next big shift we're going to see in the industry? Do you reckon it's that AI shift, or do you think there's something else coming?
Oh, give me a moment to think about that one.
Can we start the timer?
Yeah, start the timer.
I think we hear a lot of people say things like there's an AI shift coming, figuring that out. But I think there's also, I don't think we talk about this a lot on the podcast, the MSP as it exists at the moment is not going to exist in the same format that it does today. In the next, 3 to 5 years, I think we're really going to see that shift in, moving into a more dedicated services model or dedicated technology model, almost like that more TSP model, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to hit a lot of people in the face quite hard if they're not keeping up with that change.
My delay in answering that is I was in a forum yesterday, and the question was asked, we had an AI expert there, and the question was asked, are we scared? Are we scared or excited about AI in the businesses? In where things go. And some people said, look, I'm scared. Other people said I'm in the middle. And I think you've touched on something there, Kayla. I think the day-to-day could be AI'd and automated and all that sort of thing. But people still buy from people.
Agree. Yeah.
And it's like, when the automobile came out, that was going to change every, blah, 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 such. And it's just kept going and kept going. I think there is it's disingenuous. The AI misses the heart, misses the soul. I'll deal with Pete because I know Pete is. I'm not talking to an AI bot.
Yeah.
right? Am I going to go sign up with Pete because I've spoken to the bot?
No.
Most likely not. I know Pete's got my back. He might use AI in his business, but I'm not going to, I won't be buying from a bot type of thing. And people see it. Like, look at LinkedIn. Look at all the comments. There's agents and bots commenting on everything, and you can see, this has just been AI. And then people lose credibility. And I think it makes us, if I may, as people stupider. Like, we become dumb. We become idiots because we're constantly, you guys probably said, I'm just going to chat GPT that. And it figures it out, and you take it as the Bible, which it's not. It's just grabbing information that it's finding.
Yeah.
And then we become, it's just like you use a calculator. You don't think about how to do the calculation in your head anymore. And I just kind of feel that is where, yes, we will need to still provide solutions. And whether we use AI or ABC or DEF to do that, it's going to be still about people buying from people.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because obviously the slop feeds the slop, basically. So the more AI-generated content, obviously that's what the content's actually learning off, is that content and that barrier. But I think it's the customer experience, I think, is so important as we move into that. People actually want more of a human interaction. And I think, more of those niche boutique services or, some of those artisanal products as well, that all of a sudden, there's a human that's created and crafted with their own hands. And I think even in the way that we interact with, customers, is how do we go and create that individual experience as part of the engagement is really something I think that every organisation should really be thinking about is, well, if I've freed up these resources, how do I lean into my customers more?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. I think the AI is definitely going to be there for the efficiencies, but I think the people are still going to be required for the customer interaction, the selling.
Yeah.
Experience.
sorry.
The thing that went through my head while we were talking there is, my first job out of school, actually my first job was delivering pamphlets, but my next job was actually working on a checkout at Coles. And this was back in the days where there was no computer system to compute the change. And, the ability to actually go, someone gave you a $100 note for, an $85.20 thing, the ability to just calculate all of that in your head instantly. And then I look at that today and, people aren't able to do that because they've lost that muscle of being able to do really quick addition and subtraction and things like that. And I think, you're definitely right that there's skills. And I think, especially from an IT perspective, you look at some of those fundamental things like, octet tables that you need for DNS and being able to then, work out routing and trace routes and things like that. Those basic fundamental troubleshooting skills, they're being lost. And and when the tools don't give you the right answer, you still need to get back to the CLI at some stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And how relevant is the data that it's grabbing as well? I want to go buy a new car. Show me cars that have this, blah 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 blah, and it'll give you a list of different cars, but it's missed the brief, or it hasn't kind of hit the spot because that this car's actually the one that
you want.
And it hasn't grabbed it. But it can definitely be used as a good tool, and we need to embrace that. But people buy from people. You need a great client experience. I spoke to a company just this week that they say they log a job with their IT provider and they wait 5 days and they're sick of it. Our target is have it resolved, have it dealt with, under an hour. We want to be, our average time span
response,
we want that dealt with.
That first response.
And clients like that, and they can see that.
Yeah, it's value.
And if AI can help with that, awesome. And we have found that. We had someone manually triaging our tickets, or scheduling and whatever else. For a couple $100 a month, we've got an agent doing that. And my team have done an awesome job fine-tuning it, tweaking it, and just making it more awesome. And that is you can go, I can see the value in that. The success rate is good. There's a couple of percent we still need to fine-tune.
Yeah. And look, I think the opportunity that AI starts to provide is, how do you throw out the classic MSP playbook? the MSP playbook was I have lots of L1s and then I only have a few, fewer level 2s, then go up to the apex being the level 3s. And the reason is, obviously the L3s cost more and L2s cost slightly a bit less and L1s are cheaper. So I want to have more of those cheaper resources that are taking those first level calls, being able to triage so someone feels like they've got a response in inverted commas, but not necessarily resolve the problem. And so if you can start to then resolve a lot more of that with AI, it means you can invest more in those higher skilled team members to be able to then deliver better first touch resolution and better outcomes for customers as well, and sort of really start to think about, how do you throw out that triage model and then replace that with a human-centric element.
Speaking of human-centric, you're wearing a very lovely shirt into our studio today. Now, our friends on YouTube who watch on YouTube will be able to see it, but if you're listening on your streaming service, you won't, but that's okay. Now, you've done a lot of awareness, public awareness around mental health, and particularly men's mental health. You've raised a lot of money. Talk to us about that and how that came to be and what the shirt means.
Yeah, no worries. So I found out about this shirt because we lost my uncle to suicide, and we had no idea what he was going through, and he was the life of the party. I think I shared with you before, Kayla. He would make up signs and put it on someone's car, a friend's car, and go, for sale, urgent, and put his mobile number on there and make that kind of thing. He was the life of the party. Had no idea what was going through his head. And I can remember it was the 19th of February. So I just merged, the two companies had just merged, Inspired Techs and Answers IT, to become Inspired. It was 19 days into that and got a phone call that he had taken his life. My brother found him. And from that day, my brother said, I've heard of this company and we want to start, trademark, we want to start promoting it. So we got shirts and my brother has spent he spent a lot of money. I think don't quote me on the numbers again, but he's probably got at least 40 or 50 shirts, right? He's got a lot and I've probably got 15. And we really love what they do. So they sell these shirts, and then Trademark have a counselling line, so you can text, call, and get help at any time. I'm a big fan of Trademark. So our team wear it every Friday. We have Funky Shirt Friday, and we've been doing that. Our team, at all our offices, wear them.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. I keep wearing them every Friday and wherever I can. And you don't fully see the impact that you have on people. Because the stats are staggering, guys. I think it's one person every 40 seconds is the stats of who's taking their life globally.
Wow.
So if we've had this had this chat now, there's a lot of people, and that's scary. And so the message is telling people that they're valued and loved. Where was I going with that? One person every 40 seconds. So you don't know the impact you have by wearing the shirts. And I was out and I was being served by somebody and they said they liked my shirt. And I said, do you know what it's about? And told them. Because on the back it says, this is a conversation starter. Yeah. And turns out I ended up going back there another time, and they were able to share with me that they haven't been able to stop thinking about this shirt because they've been going through a really tough time, and they ended up getting quite emotional in that moment. And then I got emotional and I just said, you are so valued and loved. Yeah. And that's the first time, guys, I'd seen such a direct impact from wearing those shirts.
Yeah, and I think, I love the slogan. Like, I've got a couple of mates, I know Trademark is very prevalent in the construction industry because obviously a very blokey industry and people don't want to talk about that and that conversation starter. And I think, one of the things is we're all happy to talk about our sore knee or our, sore elbow or whatever it might be. But the reality is mental health is exactly the same. It's a disease that many people are actually impacted with and shouldn't be treated any differently. And I love the work that you do around that. We've run some events that we've had you join as well, Brendan, and it's always amazing. You light up the room with the shirt, but all of a sudden it actually starts to open up that question. And look, Lev, who leads the Queensland SMB IT user group, did an amazing thing. I presented Wednesday last week, and just a simple thing is he handed out some envelopes that had a prepaid postage stamp on there, and some beautiful writing paper, and just the opportunity just to reach out to somebody. Just to actually make that connection, have that, appreciate what you've done for me, or, maybe things aren't quite right there, and just having that conversation can be exactly what somebody needs.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're seeing a lot more of this as well become prevalent in our community. Like, we're seeing a lot more openness about, I call it neurospicy, different, I suppose, neurodiversity. We're having a lot more conversations because I think the stat is actually quite high in our industry compared to other industries. I think it's something like 32% of our industry has some sort of neurodiversity or some sort of neuro, like ADHD, autism, that kind of thing. And that can also lead on to mental health issues as well. So I think we're actually embracing it a lot more as a community than we ever have as in the IT community. So I think it's awesome. I think it's really good that you're talking about this.
And you don't need to do it alone. If people are struggling, talk to someone or just reach out and just know that you're valued and loved, because it can get really lonely out there.
Yeah, particularly in business as well. I think we see it a lot more in business or entrepreneurs as well, because it can feel like a bit of a lonely journey.
Yeah.
All right, last question. So this one's a good one. If you could give one piece of advice to your younger self based on the experience or when you first started in the industry, what would it be?
Should have given me these questions earlier.
I really love the off-the-cuff comments because it's interesting where it goes rather than the pre-canned responses.
There is a saying that I was told, and I really, there's a couple of sayings I love. Keep the main thing the main thing. But the one is, the purpose of today's training, every day's a new experience, the purpose of today's training is to defeat yesterday's understanding. The purpose of today's training is to defeat yesterday's understanding.
Yeah, wow. Just continual moving forward, continual improvement.
Kaizen, continuous improvement.
Yeah, I love that. Well done. Thank you so much, Brendan, for joining us. Now, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, post your conversation with us, how can they do that?
They can contact email. I'm not going to give you my mobile number, but you can if you want to. Just email me, ceo@inspired.com.au. So inspired, but with an A, .com.au.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And Pete, thank you so much for being on the other side of the table to me.
And thank you so much, Brendan. And thank you for the vulnerability, because I think, as business leaders, it is lonely at the top, and your story was an amazing journey there. So thank you very much. And Kayla, as always, great to be across the table from you.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate you. Thanks.